We're continuing a series called Shifting Gears, and this week we're looking at drive. Last week we looked at reverse, and Josh shared about what it meant to have faith like a child and to act like a child and to get to play. As I was thinking about drive, I couldn't help but think about a memory that many of us all share in common, driver's ed. That period in our life where, it was just one of the most awkward times in my life, where you sit in this car. And how many of you did driver's ed at Sears? Did anyone do it at Sears? Yeah, did it at Sears, okay? And you sit in this car, and you've got this driving instructor, and half the time they care about what's going on, half the time they really don't. It's probably like a coach or someone trying to do something extra on the side, and you're driving. And I don't know about you, but I didn't know that they had the pedal too. And so I'm driving, and all of a sudden I forget, and I'm like, oh no, I'm about to die. And my guy steps on the pedal and is able to save me, and I remember it was a big day to do the 3-point turn. Oh man, that was a big day. Mine was like a 7-point turn the first time. And then parallel parking. Oh man, that was a tough one. And then finally we ramped up enough energy and courage to get on the highway. And Highway 183, I tell you what, man, right by Irving Mall, that was it for me. That might as well have been Daytona for me. Doing the driving thing, and then when you get the keys to your car from your parents the very first time, and you never know which parent is more nervous than the other one, and you get the lecture. Now, 10 and 2. Okay. See, I'm from the ghetto, so, we wanted to rock it back. But so I was like, okay. And now make sure your seatbelt's buckled. Okay, yes, all right. Now, when you're listening to the radio, don't listen to it very loud. Okay. Now, and we don't want anyone in the car for the first 6 months. And then many of us have had this said to us, and we're probably about to say it to our teens. It's not you I'm worried about. It's the other drivers that I'm worried about, right? I got that lecture too. I remember the first time my dad tried to teach me how to drive a stick shift. Wow, not pretty. I to this day, I still can't. So if you are on the side of the road and you need me to rescue you from some incoming monster or something, and you have a stick shift, too bad. It's just not gonna happen, because we're gonna get stuck. And I remember it was like it was a Toyota Supra Turbo. I could barely fit into it. You had to get the jaws of life to get me out of it. And I remember I couldn't even get it into gear. I was like, why would anyone want to drive one of these things? It was horrible. It felt like I was doing some type of dance with it. It was not a pretty experience at all. And then I remember the time I was in my 1994 Dodge Ram. And the cool thing to do back in the day for me was we would put glass packs on our trucks. And there were these loud, obnoxious exhaust that for some reason guys thought that if we had these, we would pick up more girls, okay? So we'd drive around Sonic. I was like, all right, cool. You got cherry limeade going everywhere, ocean water on the floor. And so I had this red Dodge Ram, and I had black glass packs on it. Boy, I thought I was the coolest kid in the world, man. I invented crystal clear Pepsi, right? I was ready to go. And I was on the highway. I swerved over like 2 lanes to get into the left lane. And all of a sudden, I look to my right, and I see a car. I'm like, oh, that looks like my mother. Oh, my word, that's my mother. She's going, pull over. So we had to pull over, and I had to leave my Dodge Ram at Crystal's Pizza for the next 2 weeks. I had to take the bus to school. Talk about your street cred. It was totally down the drain. We have so many memories about driving. This metaphor can be used about our spiritual life as well. There's different seasons and different paces to our life with God, as we're going to look at this week, and I'll be sharing with you next week about neutral and what does that look like. But life with God is lived at all these different paces. If you look at the life of Jesus, he was constantly engaged and then disengaged, and he was always going somewhere. We see the lives of the apostles. They were always on the move and always going. There was a certain pace and feel about them. And this week we're looking at what is this idea of drive, and what does it mean to not coast through life? It was until a couple years after that I really mastered the whole idea of being able to coast, being able to set the speed limit or whatever I wanted, this new invention called cruise control. And it was kind of hard to do at first, because you had to do it and hit the button and get everything, but once you were going, it was smooth sailing. And we have this tendency to get everything in life in order, and we strive and fight and push to get everything in order so we can finally coast and everything be smooth. And what I want to share with you is that life with God is not like that. That there's a constant pace and a constant push to it. Many of us, if we're honest, we might feel stuck. We might feel in a rut. We might feel like we're not quite in gear with our relationship with God. We feel like we come and gather in this place, and we come and we say the right things, and we look right, and we know what to and what not to do. But if we were to be honest, our spiritual RPMs just aren't really engaged. Which makes sense. They did a poll, and about 60% of Christians in America consider themselves to be what you would call casual Christians, or I call it coasting Christians, where they're in a place of just coasting, of staying still, of not moving, of not activating their faith, and they're fine with it. My challenge for us today is to look and see the Scriptures. What does it look like for us to fully engage our faith? What does it look like for you as a parent, for you as a teacher, for you in your job, as a friend, as a brother? What does it look like for us to fully engage our faith? And so I was looking for a Scripture verse that really gets at this, and I found one in Matthew 28. It's a very familiar passage for us, and it's Jesus' last commission. People call it the Great Commission. In Matthew 28, this is what he shares with us. It says, "Then Jesus came to them and said, 'All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age.'" Here we see that Jesus has come and appeared to the disciples after the resurrection, and that some believed and some still had doubts, we see in verse 26 and 27. And he's come to say, I'm gathering you together to send you out. This is what is on my mind. This is at the front of my mind. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go. All authority on heaven has been given to me, and I'm now commissioning you. And I want you to go to the corners of the earth, both near and far, here and there. I want you to go, and I want you to make more disciples like yourselves. And I want you to baptize them. I want you to teach them everything that I've commanded you. And the good news is that I'm going to be with you as you do this, both now and to the very end of the age. It's as if Jesus gathered these disciples together and said, all right, I'm going to be with the Father. It is time for you to kick it in gear. It is time to go. You are the hope of this movement of Christianity, this movement of following after me, this movement of the church. You are the hope. Now, here are the keys. Go. You go for it. And I'm with you. Very strong words, very impactful words. We see that this is what really started and birthed the whole movement of the early church, that these disciples, they went and spread the message to the corners of the Eastern world. And they went through trials and persecutions and whatever it took to get this message out, because they were commissioned to go and to do that. That's the word I really like to focus on, is to go. I think that's what ignites our faith. I think that's what kicks it in gear. I think that's what we throw it into drive with, is just to go. I wonder what your condition is today. Where are you at spiritually? What your spiritual RPMs are looking like? Maybe you're looking for something to really reignite your faith, that passion for God that might have been there before, or you might still be experiencing, or it might be something that you're just kind of dabbling in, or something that you really are seeking after and thirsting for. But I wonder what yours is. Because I think we could all heed this message to go and to make disciples. This idea that coasting Christians, for the first century Christian, that didn't exist. This idea of, I believe all these things, but I don't really do anything with it. That didn't exist for them, because they had a commission. They'd been charged to go, because the fate of the message depended on them. And Christ put them in authority and said, you go and you spread this. So challenging words for us, very encouraging words for us, in that Christ has said, I'm with you to the very end of the age. So I wonder what that looks like for us as individuals, and what it looks like for us as a corporate body. What would it look like for us to engage our faith and to go? William Carey was a famous Baptist missionary to India. And there's a famous quote that he has. It's going to show up on the screen. And I think this is starting to get at what this looks like. He said, expect great things from God and attempt great things for God. To expect great things from God and to attempt great things for God. Boy, I think that's a great way to live life. To expect that God is going to do great things, amazing things, powerful things. Jesus said that I'm with you to the very end of the age. And then to attempt great things for God. I was sick all week, and so I've been at home all week, all alone, and I had chicken soup and all the stuff, and popsicles and 7-Up, everything you're supposed to eat when you're sick, saltine crackers. And so I've been quarantined, and I didn't have swine. Don't worry about it. Y'all are okay. Everything's fine. No swine. And I don't know if there's any Farmville people in here. I played Farmville all week long on Facebook. I mean, I've got a farm mansion now. I've got cows and goats. I mean, my farm, So I don't know what's going to happen next week when I actually go back in the real world. All my crops are going to die. It's going to be horrible. If you don't know what Farmville is, don't ask me. Don't ask anybody. It is addicting. It is kind of like Sim City world, but no, okay? So I've been sick, and guess what came on TV? Well, of course, Top Gun, all those things, Pretty Woman, of course. I'm like, really? The Bucket List. Has anyone seen The Bucket List? Oh, man. Okay. At first, I was like, oh, all right, another Morgan Freeman. Is he God in this movie? What's going on here? Jack Nicklaus, all right, he's going to get mad and angry. Okay, yeah. But then I started watching it, and it was amazing. These guys are on their deathbed, and they run into each other in a hospital that one guy owns, and it's ironic because he says, every hospital I have 2 patients to a room, and then he gets in a room in his own hospital. He's like, why do I have a roommate? They're like, he said. And they stumble upon something when Morgan Freeman's writing on this list, and a little yellow piece of legal pad, and he writes it out. And he finds out this is his bucket list, things that he wanted to do before he kicked the bucket. And on the list are all different types of things, and they end up joining forces together, and they get to go and experience all these different things before they wanted to die, to live life to the fullest and to really, really become alive in this short time that they had left. And it's great to see they go to Nepal and they go car racing and all these different things, and it was amazing. And I was thinking about that with this quote in mind. To expect great things from God and to attempt great things for Him. What would be on my list? What are the things that I'd like to attempt for God? And you know what's cool is we all have within us these deep things that we desire to do for God. They could be big, they could be small, they could be unique, they could be just normal, plain Jane, but deep down inside, we all have our own bucket list deep down inside of us. And somewhere along the way, we lose that. We shift into coast. We go and we're comfortable just in cruise control. But we have that in us. And my prayer is that that would be ignited in us. That we'd be able to go through and to say, what could I do for God? Big dreams. What would it look like if I kicked it in gear and was able to attempt big things for God? We have to go. Our neighbors, our co-workers, people to the ends of the earth, we have to go. There is no coasting for the Christian. There's too much work to be done. The good news is great news. We've got to get it to people. I look back to June 13th, 1994. Some random kid named Tony in my 7th grade football team, I was a Crockett Cougar, drug me to church and made me go hear a preacher. He came to me and got me and brought me and made me go hear someone tell me the gospel. I've grown up in church. I was at church all the time. Sunday night, Wednesday night, Sunday morning, every time. I come up with every excuse in the world not to. I was inventing swine flu back in the day. There wasn't even swine flu to get me to go to church. I was like, no, I got this flu thing, H1N1. I can't do it, man. And this guy drugged me to church. He came and got me. And that night I heard the message that God loved me unconditionally, wanted me to be his child, had big plans for me, that Jesus died on the cross for my sin, and that was a token and expression of his desire to be in relationship with me. And it changed me forever because one person came and got me. And so I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and I'll tell people I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but I know this. I want to give my life to help people follow Christ. I want to give my life to go and to help people to become disciples. I want to go wherever I'm supposed to go and to make a difference. I want to attempt great, big, mighty things for God. And I don't know what that looks like, but I'm sure going to go down trying, because we cannot get stuck in coasting. There is no coasting for the Christian faith. It is not allowed. We're part of a faith that said, pick up your cross, deny yourself, come follow after me. Lose everything. If you sign up for this, when someone wants you to walk a mile with them, you go 2. And if they slap you, turn the other cheek. And if they insult you, then you are blessed. And when you're persecuted, you're blessed because they did the same thing to me. We are in for something that coasting is not an option. And so it's time for us to say, am I serious about this? If so, let's put it in gear and let's go. Let's go for it. I've been getting to do ministry with Micah, the worship leader, for like 10 years now, and we've got to have a ball doing it. I mean, it's great. If you want to talk about someone that gets you fired up and gets you excited to go, I mean, just constantly, all right, we got to go, we got to go. And we started having this phrase before middle school worship, because you got to really be ramped up to have, come in for 150 screaming middle schoolers. And so we would we go and collect ourselves, and then we look at each other, we're like, it's go time. And I feel like Batman when we do it, it's like Batman, or new Batman, he talks real low. It's go time. And I feel like this is what Jesus was saying in the Matthew 28 verse, the Great Commission. He's saying, all right, followers of me, it is go time. For you NASCAR fans, on your mark, get set, go. All right, or red light, yellow light, green light, go. It is time for us to go. I mean, imagine what could happen if a group of Christ followers that gathered together decided to expect great things from God and to attempt great things for God. Imagine what that would look like in the church, in your family, in the community, in the schools surrounding the community. Imagine what could possibly happen if we became passionate about engaging our faith and acting on our faith in such a way that our sole purpose was to make disciples. Not just a saying that we attach to a video, but really to make disciples. And that's what we did. We were disciple-making machines. That's just what we did. That's who we are, because we were commissioned and God gave us authority and said, you go and do this. This is what I expect of you. Of all the things I could say, I've got you gathered here right now. These are my last words, and this is what I'm going to tell you. Go, make disciples. Go do it. What would this place be like if we attempted great things for God? If we say, God, I'm going to strive to be the best parent that I can be. I'm going to attempt that, because that's a great thing. And I'm going to attempt to be the best coworker. I'm going to attempt to be the best entrepreneur. I'm going to attempt to be the best friend. I'm going to attempt to do things innovative for you. And I'm going to leverage my creativity and your power. And I'm going to create great things for you. I'm going to leverage my business smarts and the things you gifted me with and for your kingdom and for what your work is. And I'm going to attempt great things for you. And imagine if we came together and we were able to share stories each week. This is what I tried this week. This is what I'm shooting for this week. This is what we did this week. And we come into this place and we get filled up. We get inspired. We get encouraged. And guess what we do? We go back out. And that's what we do week in and week out. We come in, we get filled up, and we're sent back out. Sent out. We come in. This is a recharging station. This is not the destination. This is just a recharging station for us to go back out into the world to bring church to people, to go and to attempt great things for God again. It's like, I can't wait for Sunday morning because I can come in, get filled up, and then, oh yeah, sent out. I love the churches, some of the old country churches have this. When you leave the church, it says you are now entering your mission field. And it's kind of cheesy and corny, but I like it. That we came in, we got filled up so we could be sent out. So this week, I just have a challenge for you. Where are you at in your spiritual gears? Are you in drive? My challenge is to go and to attempt something great for God this week. That might mean packing up and going overseas. It might mean going next door and meeting your neighbor. It might mean doing something bold and daring. Or it might mean just doing something normal to attempt something great for God. To go, to look for needs to be met, to go and to make disciples. Pray that God would bring people in your mind, that He would start to do that right now and to stir that up inside of you, to go, to reach out, to go tell them, hey, you drag them to church, just come kicking and screaming, you'll thank me later. Whatever it might be, to go and to make disciples. That this place would be a place where we didn't coast through our Christianity. We weren't stuck cruise control and being comfortable, but that we would be a bunch of people who've been changed by the grace of God, who went and attempted great things for Him. And that we would be able to look back one day like, we got to attempt some great things for God. And God was able to do some amazing things. And it was such a ride. It was a highway. It was fun. It was amazing. Let that be said of us.